33 banks raised 4.65 trillion naira as Central Bank of Nigeria closes recapitalization. Nigeria Purchase and Managers Index hits 53.2. Broad-based expansion sustains for 16 months. Ghana inflation falls to 3.2% in March, lowest since 2021 CPI rebasing. All jumps over 5% after Trump says U.S. to keep up attacks on Iran. Asia-Pacific markets reverse gains as investors assess Trump's speech on Iran war. Now the program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Maria Adozakari. You're welcome. The Central Bank of Nigeria says it has successfully concluded the banking sector recapitalization program, strengthening the resilience of Nigeria's financial system. According to the Apex Bank, lenders raised 4.65 trillion naira in fresh capital within 24 months, with over 72% sourced locally and about 27% from international investors, an indication of sustained confidence in the sector. CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso says the exercise has reinforced banks' capital base and improved their capacity to withstand economic shocks. The CBN confirms that 33 banks have met the revised minimum capital requirements, while a few others remain under regulatory processes, with all institutions continuing normal operations. It adds that the program has improved capital adequacy ratios above global benchmarks, enhanced asset quality, and strengthened balance sheet transparency. The Apex Bank says enhanced risk-based supervision and mandatory stress testing will sustain these gains, positioning the banking sector to support lending, savings mobilization, and overall economic growth. In a similar development, Nigeria's economic expansion gained further momentum in March 2026, with the Composite Purchase and Managers Index PMI recorded at 53.2 points. This is according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. The latest figure signals continued growth in aggregate economic activity for the 16th consecutive month. The data reflects sustained resilience across key sectors despite ongoing macroeconomic challenges. Out of the 36 subsectors surveyed, 31 recorded expansion, indicating broad-based improvements in business conditions and strengthening economic recovery nationwide. Now, the National Assembly has passed the 2026 appropriation bill totaling 68.3 trillion naira. The increase in the 2026 budget size with an additional 9 trillion naira followed President Tinubu's request to the Senate and House of Representatives, which was expeditiously approved by both chambers. National Assembly correspondent Mitairi Ekpan reports.
More than 3 months after the laying of the budget, 2 presidential requests to both chambers of the National Assembly preceded the clause-by-clause consideration of the 2026 appropriation bill in the Committee of Supply. First, to increase the 2026 budget by more than 9 trillion naira, and then to extend implementation of the capital component of the 2025 budget by 3 months.
To extend the implementation of the capital aspects of the Appropriation Act 2025 from 31st March 2026 to 30 June 2026 and for related matters.
The capital aspect of the Appropriation Act 2025 was not funded, and so implementation could not take place.
Almost half of the 68.3 trillion naira 2026 appropriation bill now awaiting presidential assent will go into capital expenditure, while 15.8 trillion naira is for debt servicing. Top allocations go to the Ministries of Defense, Education and Health to safeguard the well-being of citizens.
With the increase in revenue as a result of the tax reforms, that this will be a realistic budget for the benefit of all Nigerians.
The Enugu and Maiduguri urban light rail project. This is a clear indication that Mr. President is not only responsible, but responsive.
The bureaucratic bottlenecks that led the challenge of late releases of funds in 2025 should be addressed holistically.
And ensure that growth translates into a decent job, rising income, and a better quality of life across the Federation.
The Senate and House of Representatives also approved two separate loan requests from the executive, comprising a $5 billion facility from First Abu Dhabi Bank for a structured external financing program and a $1.9 billion loan from Citibank of London to upgrade the Apapa and Tinkan Island ports.
The rehabilitation and reconstruction of these ports will improve the port's functionality and operational efficiency.
The gale of defections continue in both chambers, with more in the House of Representatives, where 30 lawmakers announced change of membership of political parties. Both chambers have adjourned plenary to the 21st of April 2026.
Now to shed more light on the economic implications of the new budget adjustments and the new approved loan of $6 billion is an economist. Isho Ali, you're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Let's jump right in with the budget passing the National Assembly third reading. Amid all mid-fall, as it also approves fresh $6 billion borrowing. What, in your opinion, does this mean for Nigerians?
It is highly expected based when
and
you
the
look,
economy, of course.
Yeah, it is expected when you look at the timing of the budget, which was presented early in December, which was late, and at the same time also the presidential visit to two key partners in the economy, that is the UK, United Arab Emirates, and including Turkey. So, and the take home from that definitely. With the extension of the budget from December to March 31st is highly welcome, but we have to do with certain cautions.
Okay, let's now talk about stabilizing the economy and funding infrastructure development. What do you see happening here with current realities?
The current reality shows that 2025 was a highly deficiency. It has a very high, we have recorded a deficiency in the implementation of the budget. So I think based on the new reforms, especially the monetary and fiscal, we are expecting the budget performance of 2026 to be more friendlier and at the same time also to be more attentive and monitored because two things are clear. One is that the tax efficiency is going to be recorded, which will bring about additional revenue. That is one. Second, also the fruits of international travels by Mr. President is also going to yield results by accessing new funds. These funds are coming from UK and the First Abu Dhabi. And if they are coming, all this money is for the development infrastructure, which include the development of port, development of health, development of education. They are all important. So I think reliably, we can say that budget of 68 trillion is a very handsome budget for an economy like Nigeria, but what we are expecting efficiency in terms of implementation and at the same time also efficiency in terms of monitoring, because it's one thing to be implementing or executing the capital aspect of the budget, and it's one thing also to put efficiency in checkmating the excesses of those in the field.
Initially, in your first answer, you said we have to ask ourselves some questions. What are those questions? Looking at
the question is, anytime you are making a proposal which also there is harmonization by the Joint Committee, the Senate and National Assembly, and also we agree that there is a sort of harmony between the executive and the legislature at the larger forum. The question is, we want accountability. This accountability has to do with all the content of the appropriation, meaning that if you look at the capital content of the bill, which is taking higher percentage, then the question now is we have additional burden in debt issues. The question is, what is going to be the role of the new tax reform and the accessibility of new funds? That is one. The second is that the new projects that are being designed to take effect, especially the development of Port and Tinkat, what time frame is going to be reliable for us to achieve the target? These are fundamental, based looking at the fact that 2026 is going to be the last appropriation to be presented to the National Assembly before election in 2027. So these are very fundamental, and this also poses a lot of questions to the efficiency of the executive, the legislator, in terms of executing the budget, and also in terms of implementing the budget as scheduled. These are very cogent.
Talking about what you just said, concerns have been raised about rising public debt and fiscal discipline. Nigerians are more concerned about impact. How would you react to this?
No, you know, one good thing about debt is that if you are not even qualified, you cannot access it. So the beauty of it is that the economy is comfortable to borrow, but it's not convenient to continue to borrow because government has introduced two reforms, which includes tax reform. And the essence of having tax reforms is to try as much as possible to access additional revenues that can prevent the economy from large borrowings. And even if by large borrowing, we also have to look at the monetary reform that is also ongoing. 31st of March was the deadline set by the bank in terms of capitalization. Remember that the economy is targeting $1 trillion economy, and the capitalization of banking sector in Nigeria is to provide additional value in terms of resources, mobilization of resources and allocating of resources to different sectors of the economy for economic efficiency and for the growth of the GDP. These are very cogent in understanding why it is important to borrow, why it is important also to borrow domestically, and why it is also important to borrow for priority projects.
Talking about borrowing still, would you say the $6.9 billion loan is a means to poverty alleviation?
No, you see that $6 billion which has been approved by the National Assembly, it has already entered into agreement between Nigeria and the UK and Nigeria and United Arab Emirates. And it is a good window. It has been a very long time for any president to undertake a state visit and to also strike such wonderful investment. You know, bringing out $6 billion in less than 3 months is something commendable, especially when you look at the critical aspect at which the funds are going to be used. The development of ports, which Nigeria significantly is having additional efficiency in the port administration, being the Nigerian gateway, is very significant. If you look at the history of Nigeria by closing all the land borders. So if you close all the land borders, the only alternative is to develop the ports. And by developing the ports, you have to develop the infrastructure around the ports. And if you do that, you are bringing efficiency into the economy, because whatever that is coming, it has value in terms of provision of social amenities, provision of critical technical instrument that is building the economy. And at the larger extent, any port that is developing, it has to come with a development of different excise duty and different custom values, which is still coming to Federation account and is being shared by the tiers of government as specified by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commissions.
And finally, I would like to understand how confident should Nigerians be in the revenue projections? How realistic and achievable
The revenue projection has to do with the investment in revenue itself. The Nigerian Revenue Service now is in charge of conglomerating or bringing out all the revenues, and at the same time also putting value into the sharing formula and then putting value into the execution. So all Nigerians are expecting the performance of the revenue service to bring about social tangible investment that they will now sit and look back. And at the same time also, this revenue performance does not have to do with only revenues that has been generated by the central authority, that is the federal. It also includes the IGR of state and local government. So invariably, it is the coordinating minister to bring about a stakeholder forum, to bring all those that are in charge of revenue generation, and also to give a priority target of the economy so that the target can bring about a tangible investment in infrastructure, tangible investment in all human capital development index, which include health, education, and social amenities.
Thank you, Yusha Aliyu, for painting it clearer for us.
Thank you very much.
You have a good day. The Ministry of Youth Development says sustainable economic growth lies in unlocking the potential of young people, a demographic advantage critical for innovation, entrepreneurship, and transformative national development. The Minister of Youth Development, Ayodele Olaonde, stated this in a message during a study tour by Senior Executive Course 48, Subsection 48, 2026 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSS. The minister, represented by Permanent Secretary Dr. Mariam Keshinro, said the ministry champions policies that empowers young Nigerians through entrepreneurship, digital skills, innovation, and access to financing for wealth creation and economic participation.
An exploration of our practical policy options that can further unlock the potential of our young people.
Highlighting the youth as central to Nigeria's
Executive Council, and it is
Talking tech, Nigeria's central bank has begun testing a new supervisory approach for the country's fast-growing cryptocurrency market, months after the country was removed from a global financial watchdog's grey list, in a move that signals tighter oversight of digital asset activity. The Central Bank of Nigeria, in a directive, said it has launched a pilot anti-money laundering, counter-financing of terrorism, and counter-proliferation financing supervision program involving selected virtual asset service providers. The bank said the exercise forms part of its risk-based supervisory strategy aimed at strengthening financial system stability and improving monitoring of virtual asset-related transactions. The pilot will engage several high-profile fintech and crypto-linked companies operating in Nigeria's payments and digital asset ecosystem, including Flutterwave, Paystack, KuCoin, JuicyWay, CoinCoin, and CNGN. Now talking currency, war-driven U.S. dollar rebound to fade as broad safe haven appeal erodes. Now how much is the Naira exchanging for other currencies? Let's find out. Ghana's inflation rate eased further in March, extending a sustained disinflation trend and reinforcing signs of macroeconomic stabilization after years of elevated price pressures. Data released by the Ghana Statistical Service on Wednesday, April 1st, 2026, showed that annual consumer inflation slowed to 3.2% in March 2026, down from 3.3% in February. This marks the 15th consecutive month of declining inflation and a sharp drop from 22.4% recorded in March 2025. Government statistician Al-Hassan Idrisu said the latest figure is the lowest recorded since the rebasing of the Consumer Price Index in 2021, describing it as evidence of a steady return to price stability. He noted that the moderation in inflation continues to be largely driven by easing food prices, although non-food items are still registering marginal increases. Now talking commodities, gold rose for a fourth straight session as the US dollar slipped and other risks rallied. Rallied assets on tentative hopes that the conflict in the Middle East will de-escalate. Let's now take a trip to the commodities market. Nigerian Exchange NGX All-Share Index ASI rose by 21 basis points as FCMB and VFD Group listed additional shares in the local bourse on Wednesday. The local bourse opened the new month in positive territory as key performance indicators showed mixed outcomes. The NGX ASI increased by 0.21%, while the market capitalization rose 0.46% due to a new listing. Asia-Pacific markets reversed gains on Thursday as investors assessed U.S. President Donald Trump's address to the nation on the Iran war. Let's take a look at the figures. That's the end of your dose of business for today. I am Maria Adozakar.